May I have a glass of water, please?
When will I see you again?
That's the title of my favorite soul song of the 70s. So in your case...
And to what do I owe this dubious pleasure?
Might take a little while.
You hateful bitch. How may I be of service to you?
Where's Bill?
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
That woman deserves her revenge. And we deserve to die.
Look at those eyes. This bitch is furious.
Wakey, wakey. Eggs and bacon. Is she the cutest little blonde pussy you ever saw?
Marty Catroser?
Here.
Melanie Harhouse?
Here.
Fuck. How do I look?
Beatrix Kiddo?
Here.
One of the things I've always liked about you.
Bill.
You appear wise beyond your years.
Bill. Where's Bill?
Where's Bill?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Movie Hero Network. This is Wheel of Movies, episode number 47, and tonight we are talking Kill Bill, Volume 2, in honor of the late, great Michael Madsen. I am Hassan Howell, your host, as always, for the Wheel of Movies, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Richie Goodacre. Richie, how's it going, buddy?
Yeah, going good, man. Going good. Yeah, always good to dive into Quentin Tarantino. I believe this is the first time then? Oh, second time.
Because we already talked Reservoir Dogs.
We did Reservoir Dogs not that long ago. Brain,
Yes.
second time, but yeah. Oh, good. I'm swearing I'm awake. Second time, but it's always good to talk about Quentin Tarantino movies, especially Kill Bill. I forgot how. I mean, I've always liked both movies, but I forgot how much I like this one in particular. I've seen them both like four times now. So, but yeah, it was really good to go back and especially watch another Michael Madsen performance. It's quite meaty, as it were. So
yeah. Yeah, no, the reason we're doing, like I said, Kill Bill Volume 2, instead of something like a Reservoir Dogs for Michael Madsen, is because we already did Reservoir Dogs with Michael Madsen, just coincidentally, just a few episodes ago. Yes, and that was like one of the first things we got is, from people who are in our community who obviously don't follow Wheel of Movies, and we're like, are you going to do Reservoir Dogs? And we're like, we just did Reservoir Dogs, but thanks for watching. Sure. So we had to pick something else out. We considered a few other ones. I know he loves Donnie Brasco. He has a good chunky role in there. I mean, hell, I like Free Willy. He likes Free Willy. Madsen's always talked about it. We considered it. But why not just continue the dive into Tarantino? And specifically Volume 2, because he is briefly in Volume 1, but he doesn't really he's just kind of there with the gang in there, and in this we get much more of a focus on him and kind of his subplot and his character. So that's what we kind of specifically talked Volume 2 here tonight.
His role is important in Volume 2, I would say. Like he has
yes.
Like his presence is felt in it. Like he has a big role to fill in so as we'll get to. No,
we'll definitely get to it. And yes, unfortunately, Michael Madsen You know me, Richie. I love my character actors, and he is, of course, one of the more recognizable character actors, of all time, especially through the '90s and 2000s. Unfortunately, passed away at the age of 67 from cardiac arrest. Heart disease, it'll get you, man. It gets a lot of people, unfortunately. So he passed away. And of course, he had. I was looking it up, over 300 credits between TV and movies. I mean, that guy works. Kind of like Trejo, just in a bunch of stuff. And he's always said one of those things. Seems like a cool guy in interviews. I went back and listened to a few of his, just sort of online and podcast interviews and whatnot. Just one of those guys who's just like a working actor. He just did a lot of stuff, whatever he could get to basically provide for his wife and 6 kids. So he just did what he had to do to get those paychecks. Even if it meant doing, like kind of like Trejo, just doing a weekend on this movie or a weekend on that movie. You do what you got to do, because he's never really been, I would argue, like an A-list guy or anything like that, but a very recognizable guy that you could put on the cover, or put in the high up in the cast list and people know who he is. So actor. Yeah.
You probably, not even like just live out a motel. You would never be home, like listening to one movies he does. It's just like, you'd be more like kind of get to know more of the hotels, the motel hotel staff around the country than your actual own people.
Well, I think he said what he mainly did was, he lived out in LA and he would do just a lot of like I said, these sort of weekend gigs. So he'd go off, do a gig somewhere, for a couple of days and come back home. He wouldn't do, and a lot of the reasons he wouldn't really commit to a lot of these bigger projects is just so he wouldn't be away from his family for, months out at a time or in another country or something like that. He would make the occasional exception, for a Tarantino, for a bigger director or one of his buddies. But he liked being around his kids and his family. So, good on him. he just wanted to do these quick gigs, get his paycheck, and move on with his life. So, hey, to each his own, and he did his own thing. But we'll certainly talk about him, obviously, in this movie. Get a few things out of the way, as I usually do here at the top of the show. April 16th, 2004, saw the release of Kill Bill Volume 2, about a year after the first volume, obviously, that came out in 2003. Budget of $30 million. I don't know if that includes the first movie or not. I couldn't get clarification on that. I would imagine it is, because that sounds about right for a Tarantino project, $30 million or so. But at least for this one, $153 million box office. So made a healthy profit here. So good on him for making a good chunk of money. Tarantino said, the first part, the volume 1, he wanted the bride to appear scary and kind of intimidating and not know a whole lot about her. And the second part is where you get a lot of her sort of backstory and sympathetic, sort of character development, and see a little more of her back journey, and obviously her history with Bill is kind of one of the major, through lines with this one, that we get a lot of flashbacks and whatnot. And of course, a kind of extended climax where it's not so much about them having a fight, it's more just them hashing out kind of what happened and their issues and all that sort of thing. So as far as that goes, no Oscar nominations at all. Tarantino in the rare shutout where he doesn't get nominated for anything. No writing nominations, no picture, no Uma Thurman, no David Carradine, nothing.
Like costume design,
no set design, no costume design, nothing. Not a thing.
Crazy, music, like even the score.
Nope, complete another shutout. Yeah, one of the few ones where he never didn't recognize for anything. 2 Golden Globe nominations though for Uma Thurman and David Carradine, so at least something there. But no wins. A couple of like sort of casting things. Tarantino's first choice for Bill, actually Warren Beatty. He's a huge Warren Beatty fan, so he wanted Warren Beatty to play Bill. But then there was he wasn't able to secure him. They had creative differences over the character. Probably Warren Beatty is one of the ones that people has known Richie for, like wanting to take control of his characters and the writing and whatnot in his productions. He's very hands-on with a lot of his stuff, so it just probably wasn't gonna clash properly. You know what I mean? Because Tarantino has his visions of the character and his script, and he wants what he wants. You know what I mean? And
I think David Carradine just like fits with his kung fu acting background, and just as like I feel like it's one of those things where you wouldn't know before you see it, but I just couldn't see anybody. Like I just think he just fits the whole mystique and vibe of the movie. So, yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe he would have been right, but but it is sort of it's challenging. Obviously when you deal with actors, you got to deal with a lot of different personalities, and if you got one of those people who try to takes over creative control, that is can be posing issues. Like when I'll bring up now, there's like obviously one of Tarantino's least liked films is actually Natural Born Killers, because however they redid his script, which they even Eric Carradine mentions the words "natural born killers" in this movie. I'm like, the movie you kind of wrote.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so I can understand. I can see how that would, even having that experience, going, no, you're not going to do that again to me. No, because no, it's my movie.
Yeah, well, and at this point, after Reservoir Dogs and especially Pulp Fiction and Jackie Brown, they trusted him with pretty much to do his movies. The only thing he was pressured into doing by the Weinsteins at the time and Miramax was to split the movie up into 2 parts, because originally he just wanted to do obviously one long movie, and then he shot all the stuff and kind of had a rough cut, and they convinced him to do a part 1 and a part 2 essentially, which was probably for the best, because I don't think you'd be able to release like a 4-hour movie, in theaters.
Yeah, the movie would have been like 4, because I got that, I've got Janelle Bloody Fair. It would have been 4 hours. Like this movie by itself is 2.25 hours. So
and the first one's like an hour 45 or something. I mean, literally, you're looking at like a 4-hour movie. I mean, there's just no way, unless he somehow cut it down to 3 hours and just released it even then. Yeah, it'd be a bit of a hard sell. But probably the right thing to do Volume 1 and Volume 2. Although the whole bloody affair does exist. Tarantino does have a cut and a print of the whole bloody affair. It basically, it being presented as one, long movie, but it's not available on any kind of physical or digital. It has only ever been screened at his New Beverly theater that he owns out in California, and he screens it. I wouldn't say like super frequently, but I think about once a year he screens it, and it sells out like immediately every time he screens it. So just as one of those things where you can only see it on a print at his theater if you're one of the lucky few ones who can do that. So I don't think we're ever going to get the whole bloody affair on physical. Unfortunately, they just did the 4Ks of Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2. It does not have a whole bloody affair cut in there. We didn't get one for like the 20th anniversary. I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. I haven't got my hopes up for that. I would like to see it, but probably not going to happen.
Especially if they do a third one. Are they going to do like a another whole bloody affair? The new whole bloody affair. So I probably I don't know. Sometimes it's good to have this sort of kind of like secret. It makes it kind of have more mystique to it, I guess. So just and it makes it more special, and you have to watch it as theater. I think Quentin Tarantino is also really good at in the same way like Christopher Nolan worked out that. He's really good at making it his films just seem like an event. You have to sort of watch like Christopher Nolan's film that comes out next year is already sold out pretty
they already started selling those special 70 millimeter IMAX screenings at the few 70 millimeter IMAXs that there are. I think there's one in Orlando, there's one in Atlanta, LA, Chicago, some of the bigger markets. There's those specially old school IMAX screens. Yeah, they're already selling tickets for it, and it's sold out a year in advance. That's kind of bonkers.
Yeah, that's right. He's good at making films seem important. I like most of his movies, but I got to give it credit that he makes this film seem like they're epic, and I think Quentin Tarantino is of that same ilk.
No, for sure. Just a couple other notes. Gordon Liu, who appears in both Volume 1 and Volume 2, he's Johnny Moe in Volume 1, one of the main sort of crazy 88 guys. He also plays Pai Mei in the flashback sequence in this movie. And the Pai Mei character is a character that has been characterized in other, sort of old school 70s kung fu movies. 2 primarily Executioners from the Shaolin and Clan of the White Lotus, with which both co-star Gordon Liu, who's in those movies as a different character. So he does not play Pai Mei in those 70s movies, but he was in the movies with that character and then does play the character in this movie. So, he had kind of firsthand experience, so with that characterization and whatnot. So, it's a character that's popped up in a lot of those kind of kung fu movies and is based on a real guy from like the 1800s, like this real like sort of kung fu master. So I think his name is Bak Mei, something like that. The long beard and the white eyebrows and everything like that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like he was, like sort of transposed from a different like film. One of those. Because I watched a lot of Asian kung fu, even when I was doing the Tubi podcast. There was a lot of Asian kung fu there, and it felt like his character was plucked from even that era. So it doesn't surprise me that it's that it's from that. And I've definitely heard of the White Lotus film. So I might check it out at some point if it's available.
I would bet you anything it's on Tubi, Richie. I haven't looked it up. What do you bet? Clan of the White Lotus or one of those is on Tubi? Let's see.
There's heaps of that of kung fu stuff.
Where to watch? Well, it's on Prime. That's close enough, so it's free out there, and it's on Daily Motion. Daily Motion's got some old classic kung fu movies, so it's out there. Yeah, you can find it. Executioners from the Shaolin it's available for rent, but it's also on YouTube. Somebody's already uploaded it on YouTube, so they're out there. But anyways, one last casting note: the role of Esteban, which eventually Michael Parks comes into play, and again, he plays multiple roles in the movies because he plays the Texas Ranger, that shows up in From Dusk Till Dawn, Natural Born Killers. Earl, plays him again in Volume 1, but he also plays Esteban in Part 2. Originally, he wanted Ricardo Montalban, Khan himself from Star Trek, to play the role, which makes sense. But there was just a scheduling issue, and he wasn't able to get there for the rehearsals and the table reads. So it just didn't happen. Michael Parks stepped in for the table read, and he liked Parks' take on it. So he just said, "Yeah, why not? You do it too." So there you go. So he does that. But yeah, going back briefly to the David Carradine thing. One of Tarantino's favorite shows from the 70s when he was a youngster was Kung Fu. He loved Kung Fu with David Carradine. So again, one of those things where he got to work with one of his, kind of childhood heroes. So that was a dream come true for him. So there you go. And before we get into the movie and talk a little bit more about Michael Madsen and whatnot, it is time, of course, Richie, to take a trip back in the time machine to the box office of April of 2004. And let's see what else was playing at your local multiplex. A couple of the higher end movies got going. Hellboy with Ron Perlman making a big splash at the box office in April 2004. The Passion of the Christ, which had come out in February, 2 months earlier, still kicking ass at the box office. So, Jesus sells, especially from Mel
he did back then. Before this was before like he had its own their own like they had their own before they had its own streaming service and all that kind of Jesus films and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess this was all, and it's pretty timing too, because I'm pretty sure doesn't Passion of Christ 2 come out next year?
I think it's coming out next year. Yeah, I think it's called like Passion of the Christ Resurrection or something like that, whatever it's called. Yeah, it's about like, the resurrection and the post stuff and all that. Yeah, I believe that comes out. He's finally doing it. So, that first one, I believe at the time was the highest grossing independent film of all time because Mel Gibson financed it independently and then made over like $200 million at the box office. Yeah. So he did quite well with that one. So Scooby-Doo 2 in theaters, if you care for that one, which I know has like a cult following because
there's a lot of people who like that movie a lot.
Yeah.
I saw it once and I'm like, yeah, that's cute but and fun, but I don't know if I never thought about going back to it until like this further of like fan support than this, especially in this like community. I was like, okay, fair enough.
Sure. So, James Gunn is in the news right now, and I believe he wrote Scooby-Doo 1 and 2, so that's really somewhat relevant there. Home on the Range, the farm animated movie. Yeah, that kind of came and went as around the time. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in Walking Tall, one of his follow-ups to Scorpion King and The Rundown.
I like that movie.
You know what I like about that movie? It's like 77 minutes, man. Boy, you're in and out in that movie. That movie just gets in and gets out. Man on Fire, which didn't do terribly well at the time, even critically, and now has a little more of a following now. Yeah, with Denzel in theaters. You got 13 going on 30 with Jennifer Gardner. So, still talking about that one.
In Australia and New Zealand, Malcolm will test this. It's called Suddenly 30. I don't know why.
Suddenly 30. Yeah. Well, I mean, she is suddenly 30. So, I guess it makes a little bit of sense. Got The Punisher with Thomas Jane at the box office. I like that movie. I still like that movie.
And Kevin Nash, who
Nash.
legit got stabbed in that movie.
He sure did. And Ben Foster, who we just talked, people just talked about on Rank 'Em. Ben Foster, I believe it made the list. The Prince and Me, which is an early Chris Pine, Julia Stiles joint, I believe, that we had on our Battle of the Chris's. It's an early Chris Pine movie before he was famous. You got that in there. Johnson Family Vacation with Cedric the Entertainer.
Baby.
And then these are kind of falling out of the box office. They had come out, a month or two ahead. But a lot of critically acclaimed kind of filmmakers with movies around. They got The Lady Killers with the Coen brothers, which is not as bad as people make it out to be. It's not that bad. Jersey Girl, the Kevin Smith movie, kind of forgotten Kevin Smith movie. You got Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Shout out JPO. It was still in theaters a little bit here and there.
I'll say Jersey Girl, also not as bad. But I feel like people
because Kevin Smith craps on it, and I don't know why. That movie's perfectly fine. Like I think the movie's totally fine. I don't have a problem with that movie. Eternal Sunshine and Spotless Mind, and Dawn of the Dead, the remake, Zack Snyder's remake, still in theater. So good movie. So a lot of interesting movies and some stuff we're still talking about today. So some noteworthy stuff in there. Let's talk about Kill Bill Volume 2, and let's briefly maybe just touch on Kill Bill Volume 1, and sort of maybe just kind of your brief thoughts on Kill Bill Volume 1, Richie, before we kind of jump into Volume 2. We won't review go step by step the whole movie, but your thoughts on Volume 1 and how does it compare to Volume 2?
So I for a long time, I guess the Kill Bill series was like a blind spot, but I watched them I've watched them for like I said 4 times now, but I watched them for a few years ago, sort of back to back when I had timelines, and the first one's definitely kind of more. I feel like the first one's definitely more. You got more of that camp sort of factor in it too. Like the kind of but almost like there's almost like it's almost like a comic book feel to it. Like there's literally an animated sequence in the movie, but
and he also Tarantino clarified that the first one is made to feel like an over the top kind of like a kung fu movie, throughout the whole thing. Both with the action, obviously the climax with the Crazy 88s, and even the stuff with Hattori Hanzo, Sonny Chiba, all that stuff in there is very kung fu heavy. And the second one, while it has the Pai Mei stuff, plays more. He said like a revenge western is what he went for. Mostly like a spaghetti western, so which kind of makes sense.
Because even though the out there characters you Lucy Liu, just I remember the scene where she just runs across the table barefoot and then slices that dude's head off. As the greatest. Was it the chick with was it the bomb or the girl that was it the nuts? No, the bomb. I can't remember what the weapon is, but
it's like the big long chain thing, that she throws around. It's a lot of fun.
I think if you're looking for full on entertainment, and then this very bloody battles, this one's great, and then the second one's just a little bit more grounded, and it's a great western. You still have when you have the fights, the numerals, we'll get to them. It's they're 2 very sort of different movies. So that's probably that they're also split up, because it's maybe if it was the whole bloody affair, it kind of made me feel a bit almost disjointed in a way, because you'd be like, oh yeah, you'd be like, you'd be one half would be one movie, and then you'd be like, all of a sudden be different. So I like how it's kind of almost almost separate, so it doesn't feel as jarring. So I like sort of it's hard. So I like them both equally. I guess maybe I go back. I probably go back to one just a bit more, just because of the overall entertainment factor. But I did like number 2 quite a bit upon like this rewatch, just because of the development of the character and the way it all sort of culminates. So yeah, no, but yeah, so no, but yeah, it's they're both very, very different, but very, very good in their own right.
Yeah, no, totally. And yeah, that first movie, yeah, definitely has more of like that kind of shock factor, yeah, with the action. And yeah, the editing is very like kind of a little more faster paced. Yeah, you kind of open up with the Vivica Fox fight, so you're kind of just thrown right into the action. And yeah, I mean, you get a little bit of her backstory, with her in the coma and coming out of it and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it's more about just kind of the straight revenge with that one, yeah, leading to the epic, the crazy 88 fight. Yeah, you only get like a couple of the side characters. Again, that's why we're not calling Volume 1, because I think you only see Michael Madsen like in the stuff where they're kind of looking over as she's shot and whatnot. In Volume 1, you don't really see much of him in that movie. You get obviously way more of him in this movie, so which is why we're talking about it. And yeah, and this one is certainly more about like settling down and kind of flashing back and telling more of the relationship that the bride and Bill had, and her relationship to the other kind of side assassins as well, and just really like fleshing that out. And obviously you get the reveal at the end that her kid is alive, which is kind of a twist in the movie that I think Tarantino read somewhere. He was like trying to find sort of like an extra hook at the end, and then remembered that she was pregnant at the thing, and then what if the kid was alive? And then he's like, boom, there's your hook, for kind of like an extra little gut punch at the end, if you've been following it. So yeah, no, a cool way to kind of excuse me, get things going. But yeah, like getting into the actual movie, we start out with seeing the more fleshed out of what happened, at the actual chapel in El Paso. Because we saw kind of a brief snippet of it in the first movie, but this you got to get kind of the build up to it that she's getting married to this guy Tommy, and he's got a lot of family and friends, but she doesn't have anybody with him. You see her pregnant. You get our Sam Jackson cameo as Rufus, the piano player, because he pops up in most Tarantino movies. And yeah, Bill shows up, and she didn't expect him to. I mean, obviously she knows that he kind of tracked her down, but doesn't know what he's going to do. Maybe seems like he's going to sort of, maybe they're going to kind of forgive and forget, and maybe just chat it up. But no, not so much. He plays nice at the beginning, and yeah, we see the rest of the Viper squad come in and kill everybody. And it's a pretty brutal scene, because you don't see everybody necessarily getting gunned down, Richie, but you just kind of hear the screams and see this like kind of nice overhead shot of the chapel. But yeah, it's a pretty brutal way to open the movie here and remind us of sort of her motivation really, of what happened here and how she was kind of betrayed and then taken out.
Yeah, and yeah, I think that's one of those things where you can show a lot without showing. You can show a lot without showing a lot, kind of thing too, because it's like when and then the camera pans out and you see like sort of the Viper squad coming in and then getting everyone down. It then just goes to silence, and then you see like you just heard then like a dog in the background, and it's just like the classic of like, oh, it's all eerily quiet, and then with only a dog to be heard. So yeah, it says a lot. So yeah, it's just very it makes most of a scene by being sort of very brutal but very minimalist at the same time. But I thought that was effective.
Yeah, no, and then we get to Michael Madsen, the guy who we're kind of honoring tonight. We get to him fairly quickly, and again, he has a good chunk of the first, I would say, third of this movie, maybe in the first half. He plays a pretty significant role, kind of in the front half of this movie. As Bud, we get to see him. He's kind of living in a trailer, sort of in the middle of nowhere. Kind of, just I think he's still in Texas, I believe, but yeah, he's kind of in the middle of nowhere in Texas, just living, in between canyons and whatnot, just in this kind of dumpy trailer. He works at a strip club, just as a bouncer. And apparently he's not.
Strip club, it doesn't really. It doesn't seem to be get much patronage, because he shows up 20 minutes late, and he's like, "Why are you showing 20 minutes late? There's no one here."
Yeah. We get a little quick Sid Haig cameo, by the way, as the bartender, which I remembered. Captain Spaulding, from the Rob Zombie movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was also Jackie Brown. But yeah, he's kind of a loser, just sort of a dumped on guy, for this guy who's, treated in this former life as this, master assassin. You get the idea, Richard, that he wasn't like maybe it's like some of the other ones, like a hand-to-hand combat guy or anything, or good with the sword. That maybe he was just like the gun guy. I kind of get that idea, that maybe he was just like really good with the gun because that's pretty much his weapon of choice. As we see later with the shotgun, that maybe he was just more of like the muscle of the group. You know what I mean? Rather than sort of the flying assassin of the group and whatnot.
Yeah, he didn't. It's not like he doesn't. He doesn't like personify like kind of like a guy who's like knows the way of the sword or like martial arts training. But yeah, he did definitely. But he's got that intimidation factor, and maybe like he's a good sort of like we'll see a bit later on with a gun, and also he's probably like a good good fixer. He could be if you want a job done, he'll get it done, and he almost does. He's the closest to getting it done.
No, he is the very closest, and that's one of the shocking things about it. Is one thing we get his great little monologue when Bill kind of meets up with them, and they're not terribly happy with each other. They're brothers, which you kind of find out that they're actually blood related brothers. And yeah, he gets this great sort of monologue. It's the thing I shared when he passed away on Facebook. His great sort of that girl deserves her revenge, and we deserve to die. Like it's just this great little kind of little monologue about revenge, but his little joke about then again, so does she. So we'll see. It's a great, just little, just kind of cunning little sly thing. But like you said, his main scene where he comes home, from basically getting fired at his job, and yeah, he's just kind of sitting around in his trailer, but he's ready for her, and he kind of almost knows that she's there, or at least maybe picks up, on her trailer or whatnot, or maybe just has a gut instinct that she's sort of waiting for him. But she tries to storm in on his place, and she gets a chest full of rock salt out of his shotgun, and it's pretty shocking because you're like, whoa, wait a minute, isn't she supposed to like kill Bill at the end of this movie? What the hell's going on? Kind of takes you by shock when it happens.
I mean, are we gonna is someone else gonna kill Bill? Is that the idea? Is this a whole this whole like build up to it, like a smoke screen? Is someone else kill Bill, or what's? Yeah, it was crazy. I'm like, oh yeah, and it just the fact that there was no, there's no struggle at first. He just beat her to the punch, and it was like, oh, and she seemed like a goner. So yeah, it was quite shocking, and but yeah, it was probably up to this point she hadn't been that sort of. She never was in that any sort of vulnerable position, so it's probably it's good to sort of see that she can be, and she's not impervious to anything. But yeah, like that was crazy. Like I didn't, there was a moment there where you're like, okay, well, who kills Bill if she's gonna, if she's gonna.
Well, and and you get the idea that he's good with the gun. Maybe he's just a better strategist than she anticipated, or he's not as dumb as he looks. As much as he's portrayed as sort of this loser. He's not a moron. He's not an idiot. So you forget that maybe he's this like master, assassin to a degree. So he's not stupid. But yeah, I mean, I think he's really great in this role, and he's really quite scary and intimidating, especially in those scenes like kind of leading up to the burial, because they end up burying her alive in this kind of pine box casket. But just those scenes where he's just joking around a little bit. He does like the eggs and bakey thing, wakey eggs and bakey, and then when she kind of struggles a little bit, and he's just like, listen, you know what this is? This is mace. I could sit here and empty this whole fucking can right into your eyes and burn them right out of your fucking skull. You know what I mean? But if you're gonna act like a horse's ass, like you do, and like he lays out a good case of like, you can pick the mace or you can pick the flashlight. Like it's just like whoa, like no, I mean, and realistically, Richie, it's a pretty good plan. I mean, it's not like they just drop into her grave and dump dirt on her. I mean, they put her in a pine box, they nail it down shut, they stick it in a 6-foot grave, and they bury the damn thing. I mean, I would, assume that it was probably a pretty good plan as well. I guess the only kink in the plan is maybe he should have waited around maybe through the night, just hung out there just to make sure. But, I guess that's on him. Not thinking she would actually punch her way out of it, as we would see later, right?
Yeah. And it's like, you gotta, but yeah, like, use credit where it's due. Like he was the closest to getting there, and yeah, but it was almost a foolproof plan, and yeah, and yeah, but I did like his I did like his interaction where he's just like, yeah, he's like, where he's talking to that, was it, I don't even know who the other guy was, it's one of the guys, he's like, you ever seen blonde pussy like this before? I've seen bad.
Ain't she the cutest little thing you ever saw in your life? Yeah, just yeah, and I mean it's like, he doesn't do anything, nefarious in ways you think he might, but yeah, I mean he's still like, he's like, you're going in that fucking hole tonight. Tonight you're going under the ground. And he's just like laying it out just like matter of fact. And yeah, I mean, realistically, if he had hung around, I mean, how long would she have lasted in that coffin? Maybe an hour, 2 hours before she suffocated, I would imagine, because you'd suffocate fairly quickly, I would think. From carbon dioxide, maybe within an hour or so. So she figures she's got a limited amount of time. I mean, that's basically the premise of that Ryan Reynolds movie, Buried, right? Is he's got about the runtime of the movie to get out of there, essentially, right? Played almost in real time.
Or that CSI episode, I think that Quentin.
That Tarantino directed, where somebody's buried alive and has to get out. So yeah, it's very much like Kill Bill. I will give a side note, Richie. Mythbusters, if you're familiar with Mythbusters, actually did this. I don't know if you know that. They did an episode about this, and they tested mainly two things about this. So they tested the actual like the 1-inch punch thing, if you could actually punch your way out. Plausible. I'll tell you why. They had an actual pneumatic hand with a fist that would just repeatedly kind of do the same distance. They consulted MMA fighters, kung fu experts, karate experts, had them all like do it to see who had the highest PSI for it, and whatnot, and technique, and then set the pneumatic thing to do that. And it actually, after they set it, in an actual pine box, under dirt and whatnot, and after about 50 or 60, it started to crack and eventually broke. So it's actually possible, I guess, if you have the right technique and the right strength. So but in order to get there, obviously we get this flashback sequence while she's in the grave. So yeah, this whole training montage and training sequence with Pai Mei, this like guy, like you said, straight out of a 70s kung fu movie, with this long white beard he's always stroking, and these like white eyebrows and this white hair. He's supposed to be like the super old, like kung fu master, from like the 36 chamber of the Shaolin or something like that. And yeah, no, I think this stuff is so much fun with Gordon Liu, because he just fully involves himself into this character and just constantly like insulting her and doing almost like the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon kind of stuff, just like hopping all over the place. And it's a fun little sequence getting to see her like kind of training to be this master, like this flashback, Richie.
No, it was a cool. It was almost like almost like a cool montage, and I don't mind my montages when they come, when they're put in the right position. But yeah, no, it was cool introducing his character, and just how like Bill just sort of dumps her there. I'm like, yeah, you're going to be there until you're ready. And that's like up all these like absurd amount of stairs. And
yeah, there's always the giant staircase with like 300 stairs getting up to the place. Yeah, for no reason. Just absurd. Yeah. She's hauling water up and down the stairs. He's like, oh, I can't wait till you start, hauling water up and down these stairs in the buckets.
Yeah. So it was and then like but the dynamic between master and student was fun, and especially like because he's like, oh, do uh, uh, yeah. Do you know Chinese or something? It's just like no. It's like I was talking about like no, I was talking about Cantonese or something. Yeah, like and then
He's like, "How's your Cantonese?" She's like, "I know Japanese." He's like, "I didn't say anything about Japanese. I asked about Cantonese." He's like, "I don't like Japanese people."
yeah, talking about, and I'm talking about linguistics, and, yeah, and so like obviously but she can understand it a little bit. So yeah, that's how she gets by, and teaches him ultimately teaches her the fight what
The 5-finger exploding, the 5-point palm exploding heart technique. Yes.
the five yeah, it's I have to like remember because I know it's probably a trivia thing.
I know I've had it on trivia I did Tarantino trivia one time, and somebody asked for the very specific, in order name. And yes, it's the 5-point palm exploding heart technique. Yes.
5-point palm exploding palm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, and that would come in handy. I'll say. And, no, it was a great sort of thing.
Yeah, no, and you see how she kind of learns the short punch, and whatnot. Punching that one thick piece of wood just over and over and over again, getting the bloody knuckles and the broken knuckles, and broken fingers and everything in between. Kind of toughening up her hand, but yeah, she uses the technique in there. She's able to get herself and crawl out of the coffin and get out of there. And then it's back to kind of finish off Bud, who has made a phone call to Elle, the Daryl Hannah character, and he's got her Hattori Hanzo sword. She wants one. She never got one. I guess Bill has one. The bride has one, and Bud has one, who he claims he hawked to a pawnbroker, but that's not true.
Yeah.
That's a lie.
Yeah. Like Bill, he gave Bill gave it to him, and he's like, yeah, I gave it to a pawnbroker, and he was like, he goes, oh, like you gave this priceless, the sword's priceless. He goes, I'm not in Texas. I got $200 for it.
$200 for it. Yeah, he's just like, oh well. Yeah, it's not true. He's got it with his golf clubs in the golf bag. So yeah, he still has it. But yeah, she comes to she wants to get her hands on one. She's willing to pay $1 million for it. So yeah, they meet up the next morning. And there's kind of a bit of a turn in here, an internal turn where they have this kind of conversation. They're making this exchange. They're kind of talking about Beatrix and whatnot. He's giving them the details about what grave you can go visit if you want to go pay your respects.
Somebody.
Paula Schultz, Paula Schultz. Go visit the grave. But she's got something up her sleeve. She kills Bud with a black mamba, an actual snake, which is what Beatrix is. She is known as the Black Mamba. Then has this sort of monologue about the Black Mamba's venom.
I feel like every villain like gives when they've got like either the victim dying or like captive somehow gives the captor a history lesson. It's a
history lesson or some pop culture lesson or a lesson about an animal or some allegory about an animal. Did you know that so and so in Africa? It seems like Tarantino's definitely like playing around with that kind of trope or cliche, like in a Bond movie or something like that. Where a villain might do some kind of allegory or story about something.
But I did appreciate that, like because others like will have that information on top of their head. She was reading from she actually researched and was reading from Q cuts.
She's like, no, she flat out admits, she's like, I was looking it up on the internet, and she's flipping she got her notepad with all the facts. She doesn't just know it off the top of her head. She's like, I looked it up on the internet, wrote a few things down. So I appreciate that. She's not that smart. But yeah, he gets a couple of Black Mamba bites to the face, blows up pretty quickly, and he's dead within a couple of minutes. She's about to leave with her sword, and in comes Beatrix, and they have a pretty wild fight in this sort of double wide trailer. And I think they do some fun things with the spacing, Richie, where like like at one point she's trying to like open the sword, she keeps hitting like the wall. She can't fully like extend the sword, and like every time they try to wind up to do something, either the ceiling or the enclosed hallway kind of prevents them from doing something, and they're grabbing stuff from around, like they're grabbing lamps and TV antennas, and whatnot, hitting each other with everything. They're messing around the tiny bathroom, throwing each other to the walls. It's a fun little fight, and I like the creativity of it. Like close quarters.
I appreciate fight scenes, and it's probably it probably goes back to when like watching hardcore wrestling, and also like just I appreciate fight scenes when they use the environment to their advantage. Like even like going to the most recent like ballerina film, and there's she's just like grabbing whatever, smashing plates on that chick's head. Like when you don't come in with like full on. Sometimes you don't come in with full on weapons. You just go in with whatever. You just throw whatever. You improvise, and it's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and they eventually both pull out their swords. They have kind of a little bit of a sword fight, but instead of just having a long, drawn-out sword fight, they come to kind of a stalemate. And Elle already has an eye patch over one eye, and Beatrix just takes those fingers and pops them in and plucks out her other eye, and that's pretty brutal. The way she does it.
Holy shit!
When I
first saw that, I'm like, oh my god!
Oh my god! Yeah, shit's gone, and she's flailing around and flailing. Oh my god! Yeah, and yeah, it's pretty brutal. And she steps on the eyeball, which is gross.
It's like, step on the eyeball. You've already been. And then like I assume the Black Mamba's still in there.
No, and that's the thing. It's like Beatrix leaves her in the trailer. I mean, two factors. A, obviously she doesn't have any eyes. She's blind. So she's going to have a hell of a time, even if she got out of the trailer, figuring out where the hell to go, because dude lives in the middle of nowhere in the desert. So she's not getting very far, anyways. But yeah, the Black Mamba's still in there. So if she happens to stumble and step on that damn snake or while she's crawling around, yeah, she's dead. Even if she gets stung once, she's done for. So yeah, it's needless to assume she's dead probably either way. But yeah, it's a pretty brutal kind of climax to that fight. Yeah, with the eyeball popping out, it's pretty rough, pretty rough. But yeah, so she moves on, and yeah, she's taking out the gang. Now it's time to go find, time to go hunt down to find Bill. Yeah, she has a quick kind of interaction with Esteban, this guy who's like a father figure to Bill. Yeah, played by Michael Parks, who's Michael Parks playing like, I don't know if he's like Mexican or just kind of a vague South American guy. I forget exactly where they're at. Yeah. It's in Mexico, is what the Wikipedia says. They're in Acuña, Mexico. So yeah. But yeah, they set this kind of back and forth in there, and he claims, well, yeah, he would want you to know where he is. He's not going to hide. Like if he knows you're coming, he knows you're coming. Like he's going to tell you where I am and come get her. But yeah, this is where we get sort of the big sort of third act twist of the movie. She gets there, she's got her sword drawn, she's ready to go, and stumbles out on the back porch area, and yeah, there's little BB, her daughter, playing with Bill, and BB is alive. Her kid that she had when she was pregnant at the chapel was saved and is alive, and that's sort of his ace in the hole, Richie, if you will, of like probably his like maybe not so much a bargaining chip, but just like a buying himself some time, you know what I mean, or maybe a way to maybe get her to listen to some reason here or there, or maybe hear his plea of like maybe maybe raising her or something like that. I think he's using it at least as a tool here to at least stave off the initial attack.
Just sort of emotionally, maybe like kind of, it's definitely an emotionally manipulative tactic to kind either buy time or even like just to kind of squash it, and maybe in the perfect scenario, just to squash the whole thing altogether. To kind of use the innocence of a child, against to kind of diffuse the situation. But but it was it's a cool twist. I just like he's like just weird. He's just like cutting he's just doing this like, I like the back and forth. He's like doing this doing this monologue about and doing this analogy about Superman, and he's like just while he's making sandwiches. For,
Well, that's the first thing when he's making the sandwiches about the goldfish that she killed on accident.
Oh, yeah.
It's the one that she's like scooped the goldfish out and dropped him on the floor and then stepped on him, I guess, just to see what would happen, and then the goldfish dies. And he makes a story about, just child understanding life and death. And then, the Superman thing comes when after they put her to bed and he shoots her up with the truth serum that he has.
That's right.
With the dart that has because he's got some questions he wants her to answer before they sort of throw down. But he makes a really great and it's a good monologue about Superman, about like alter egos and about how Batman has Bruce Wayne and Spider-Man has Peter Parker, but his case is that Superman is always Superman and Clark Kent is the alter ego he uses to fit in with the rest of the world, because if he wakes up he's Superman from the get-go, and that it's just this whole analogy about how Beatrix is a killer. That's her nature, and she's her pretending to be this person who wanted to settle down in El Paso with this lunkhead Tommy, and work at this record store is a fake persona that she could never embody. You know what I mean? She could never, she kind of is. She's as you alluded to, Richie. He drops that she's a natural born killer, and you can't be anything else other than that.
Yeah, that's when I'm like, hey, I see what you did.
Yeah.
Right. I also like how he just he throws in a dig there too, and he's like, yeah, it's not a great comic, not really well drawn.
Not really well drawn, not terribly exciting, but I love the mythology of it. I love the story and the character, he kind of takes a dig. I think there was more of a dig at like there were some rough runs in like the 70s and the 80s, of Superman. So there's been some better ones recently. But anyways, and they finally get some questions out of the way again of their relationship, kind of how everything went down. We get another quick little flashback about the day she found out she was pregnant. She happens to find out she's pregnant right as she's about to get attacked by an assassin, and is able to, convince the assassin to kind of let her go because she is pregnant. And they have this, cute interaction where it's like, no, just look at the strip right there. It says I'm pregnant and whatnot, as if. I don't know. Wouldn't a good assassin, Richie, be like, so do you just carry this around you always just in case you get attacked, just to try to get out of a sticky situation? I don't know. How does she know it's completely real? I guess I don't know. It's enough to buy it, I guess, at the time.
And it was just one of those. Yeah, it was the only time. It was a very convenient time. Just have to be pregnant. I'm like, oh. It's blue. The blue. Yeah, it's very convenient to I don't know. So also appealing to a mother's instinct too. If maybe I don't know. I feel like if she's lucky that it depends what assassin you got. Some assassins wouldn't give a shit. Okay.
I think if you had an assassin like Michael Madsen's bud, I don't think he would care. He would just shoot you in the face with the shotgun. You know what I mean? I think you got lucky that it was a female assassin that maybe had some sympathy for that. I guess right place, right time.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was a lot of convenience, but it was fun nonetheless.
Yeah. No, and we get our final sort of showdown. It's just they're sitting down outside. They know they're going to have some kind of sword battle, or that's what she wants. They're contemplating sort of where to have it, and they have their kind of final words back and forth. It's one of those things where it's almost like an anticlimactic thing because they have a very, very brief sword fight. They exchange a few, clang, clang, clang. They both kind of lose it. But she takes the opportunity. She leans in and hits the 5, exploding heart technique. And Bill's just kind of befuddled at first. He's just like, Pai Mei taught you the exploding heart technique. She's like, well, yeah. Huh. I guess I never asked, he knows he's screwed because he knows what it is. He's not stupid. He's I think he even knows it too. He knows as soon as he stands up and walks away, it's over. But they have a nice little moment where and I think Uma Thurman's really great in some of these moments here. And, the moment, Richie, where she sees BB for the first time of like, the tears, the silent tears kind of running down. You can see like the emotion on her face as, she still loves Bill deep down. I mean, he did what he did and she knows she has to kill him, but like, she's still killing somebody that she loved, in a past life at least. And, and is going to miss him to a degree, I think a little bit.
Yeah. So, no, I think she definitely comes across like, with, I think she conveys the emotion, really well here. And it was cool that like it was a unique way to like sort of get that sort of dialogue between them before he dies, because obviously if he just stabbed him, he wouldn't be able to get the it's not like he's going to be able to get the whole like monologue out there. It'd just be, I guess unrealistic to like what a sword can do. Like it'd be weird if he just started like you pierce him with the sword and you just be like, yeah. So anyway, and then they just had a full-on conversation. So but I like the scene a lot, and then I think it capped off everything pretty well. And I think that I think Uma Thurman was really great at like in these moments of like like trying of realizing that like everything's sort of come to an end, but realizing what he meant to he meant to her. And so no, I think it was all really well done.
Well, yeah, and here's the the other sort of thing people talk about, with the controversial nature, and if some people consider anticlimactic, Richie, should they have had an epic fight, or do you think it's more appropriate for them to have had this almost like exchange of words and backstory and history, and then just ending with somebody kind of putting it away quickly, rather than just like epic fight?
I think if like I think it's just it makes more sense just to have like that it just drives home a more emotional point if they just have that dialogue. And I don't know, so I think at first I was like, oh, when I first watched it I'm like, oh, it's been anticlimactic, but then you watch it again and I'm like, no, I think it was important for that them to have that sort of that moment, because like I thought he's not. If it was anybody else, it would just be, one stab or she might get the upper hand and just stab him and be over. But like, he's not just any other sort of villain, So and he means more, and there's that obviously that huge connection there. It's not just she's not just a dude to him. So there's love there. So they've got to convey that somehow. And so I thought it was the right move, and well, maybe the fight's anticlimactic, but I think that was, I kind of feel like that was probably where it was always sort of going to head.
I think it's by design, and I always counter that with 2 points. A is that you kind of got that epic fight in the first movie, the first movie where she's fighting the crazy 88s, where it's over the top and she's literally fighting off a gang of people, with a sword, and there's blood everywhere, and, arms getting, limbs getting cut off, you know what I mean? Like it is kind of the big, epic fight. And then 2 is that I also see it like, in Star Wars: A New Hope, when Obi-Wan, fights Darth Vader, and it's not much of like an epic battle. It's more just about like, this meeting of the minds for the first time in a long time, and like more about sort of the undercurrent of the battle. More about the characters. I think it's more about that, than being this like epic fight. And in that one, it's very much like when Darth Vader says, you were once the master. Now I was once a student, and now I'm the master. I think it's kind of similar in this way. I think deep down, Bill knows he couldn't beat Beatrix in a straight up fight now, that she is kind of, has an upper hand on him if they were to have a fight anyways, because he's older, probably a little slow. Excuse me. I apologize. And I think it's just a thing where he kind of knows that, so like if it wasn't going to be a big battle if it ever gotten there anyways.
Yeah. He was. yeah, and yeah, I almost that's probably why he can't. Like I yeah, I think that too. I think he was just kind of, and then you, by kind of not by by not kind of being like aloof and kind of being like wanting to actually kind of Beatrix to find him, and then having that emotional moment. He knew that like it was all about sort of more closure than anything, because I think he knew that like like his his time was drawing near really, and he can only sort of run. If you run away, you can only do that. You'd be kind of just buying time. You can only do that for so long. So why not just why not? That's so I think like the last ditch effort was the obviously bringing the daughter, but like but again that like you said that could just be buying time. So yeah, I think he knew his time was at an end, but like but, and it was just important to have that emotional moment.
Yeah, no, and yeah, getting that closure. So, yeah, no, we do get that closure. Bill, has at least a moment of dignity where he kind of buttons up, his jacket and asks, "How do I look?" And she's like, "You look ready," and he gets to at least die with some kind of dignity. I think, you know what I mean. He's not getting his head sliced off. You know what I mean. He's just going down, and that sort of internal death. Where the heart explodes. He doesn't. He's not a mess like some of the other ones were. He's not flailing around like Daryl Hannah was, with no eyes, flailing around the trailer. You know what I mean?
And you got to think too, there's still a kid in the house, right? You're not going to go past the one. And, it's better to see Bill who looks like he's potentially sleeping, as opposed to just like a headless body.
Yeah, like maybe he just passed out from the alcohol outside. You know what I mean? Something like that he was drinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, she gets away with BB. Yeah, the final scene is them kind of just they're on the road, in a motel and whatnot. So, and she's kind of has this moment of like, I think just these sort of emotional things where she knows it's kind of over. She's also relieved that the kid is alive. It's a mix of emotions, kind of all.
Yeah, she's like laughing, crying. It's like euphoric.
She's laughing, crying. Yeah, it's a whole mix of like everything kind of crashing down on her. So, and she's kind of dealing with it. But I think she's really great, and I think you could make an argument, Richie, like that. I think she could have been potentially nominated for like an actress thing. I could see it, and I think she's actually really, really good here. Like I said, in those emotional moments, and just really conveying, and even in the stuff like when she's in the coffin, just like the initial panic and then the calm, the range of emotion she goes through there. Like I think she's great, and I still think it's one of her finest roles for sure.
Yeah, I definitely could have seen her get nominated. I don't know why the Academy just ignored this film completely. I don't know if it's just because, I don't know, just
they just maybe thought it was like some silly kung fu movie. Like I don't know,
thought it was more action than than more than more and didn't have as much, wasn't less substance. They had less substance than it actually did. Because it was like maybe presented as more action, but and actually, but I would have thought like Tarantino is like sort of a critical darling that you wouldn't think that, but I don't know. I feel like that if it came out I feel like it came out now that they'd probably pay more attention to that fact, but maybe not. I don't know. Academy's a bit weird. Sometimes it's been revealed that sometimes they don't watch the films that they that they nominate or not nominate. So that's I do find it funny, like the kids watching obviously watching like a very, very old school like animation sort of thing, and it's like Magpie.
It's the one I sent you. Did you ever watch it? I sent you that Magpie cartoon, that same one.
Like, magpies deserve respect.
Well, and I think when I sent it to you, it's this old school cartoon, about these magpies versus this like farmer at his farmhouse. And I think when I sent it to you, I was like, "Hey, Richie, it's a cartoon where it's a bunch of magpies agonizing and terrorizing this farmer who did nothing wrong, and then ruining his life and ruining his house. Like, check this out." And then even though the magpies are played as like the heroes of that, when they're really the assholes of the cartoon.
There are magpies suck. They don't deserve respect. I've done nothing. The people do nothing wrong, and you just come in here and it's like, no, you don't deserve respect. You got to earn respect, and you haven't. So yeah, I hope that. I hope a kid doesn't ask Beatrix for a pet magpie or something, because no, that's
let's get your overall thoughts just on the Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair, if you will, and maybe just some final words about Michael Madsen in particular, Richie.
Yeah, no, I think this movie is a brilliant film, and just such a love letter to kung fu movies and westerns, and I think Uma Thurman, is fantastic in the role. We didn't talk about it much, but it would be cool to see a third one. I think if we were going to get one, I would have had one by now, but you never know. I don't know what's going on with Quentin Tarantino. I thought the last one would be that critic movie that's going to be turning into that Cliff Booth movie that we're getting. So I'm not sure what he's going to do next. Maybe, this movie as a whole is really really great. Michael Madsen makes the most of his screen time, especially in this one. I think he's fantastic. He's very menacing. He's one of those ones that definitely comes closest to putting it into Beatrix here. He plays his character really well. The kind of guy people I guess underestimate, because he kind of comes across as a bit of a loser, but he's I think he uses that to his advantage, because he's actually quite. I feel like he can be quite meticulous and evil when he can when people do underestimate him. I think he played the characters really well, and I think he kind of proves that. This movie also proves that he's just he can sink his teeth into a role, and he's a great character actor in general. And I love Quentin Tarantino's love for character actors, and in general, and so so I'm glad for that, and so I think this is definitely, if you're sort of new to Michael Madsen films, I'd definitely obviously start with Reservoir Dogs, because that's his sort of big break, but then definitely go to Kill Bill Vol.2, and see how he is, because it's really really good. So
and I think it's a perfect cap off to this little this whole bloody affair and whatnot. I really like this movie. I've come to, I think, appreciate even Volume 2 even more than Volume 1. Obviously, anytime I watch Volume 1, I have to immediately put on Volume 2. It's kind of like the Back to the Future movies. I just start, kicking through all of them, or Indiana Jones or whatever. Just gonna have to watch the second one. I really love the character stuff they really dive into. And and speaking about Michael Madsen, personally, I've always been a fan. My love of character actors. I appreciate what they can bring to movies, especially directors who do like character actors like Tarantino does, or actors of the past. There's people who are maybe underappreciated, but who appreciate when they do get these sort of meatier roles to dig into. And I think it's one of those things where that's why Madsen would always come back whenever he's asked by Tarantino, because I think it's just Reservoir Dogs, this, and The Hateful Eight that he pops in on. I think he's having fun in all three of them, and he's got a way of just being super cool, but also being intimidating, little tinge of humor, because even Mr. Blonde in Reservoir Dogs has that little bit of humor, here and there, like when he slices off the ear and then holds it up and he's like, hey, do you hear that? Do you hear that?
Or when he's getting when he's getting chewed out by Harvey Keitel, and he's just drinking like he went away and stopped like drinking the milkshake at McDonald's or whatever it was. That's right.
Yeah, no, he's just sitting there, just as cool as could be, just kind of chilling, hanging out, and even in this movie, very similar of just like cracking the little jokes here and there, the little catchphrases, those little bits of humor, but mixed and being able to turn on the intimidation and the scariness, in the times when he needed to. It's really fun, and he knows how to hit that balance really nicely in a lot of his movies. So, he's just one of those guys that I'll kind of miss, in all these roles. He's even stuff like Species, he's kind of the main, like detective guy running around. He's fun and he's having a good time. I know he got kind of sucked in some of the Uwe Boll stuff in the 2000s. It is what it is. He said he was doing it for the paycheck, so I totally understand that. I get it. He's a fan. When you find out he was like a family man and he was just kind of like Bruce Willis was, just trying to get those paychecks to take care of his kids. Like you're like, yeah, I get it. You know what I mean? You're working. Yeah, I totally get it. And he had no shame about that. He's just like, yeah, that's what I do. I'm a working actor, bro. Take my gigs, get my paycheck, do my job, and, get out of there. So, that's what he does. So, no, it's totally cool. But yeah, I'm going to miss a guy like him. And I just really appreciate these character actors and what they bring to cinema. So I think they have an important place in the cinema world, and kind of elevating those small roles and making them memorable, and he certainly makes, Bud very memorable in this movie. So, and really stand out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I always like, watching a movie and go, oh, it's that guy. Oh, it's that chick. It's that, that person from that movie.
No, they're fun. Yeah, that's those kind of people like going back and watching 90s movies and seeing all these people that you recognize. No, it's a good time. So, we'll wrap it up there. So that'll do it for Kill Bill Volume 2 and for Michael Madsen, R.I.P. Man, we'll miss you. But yeah, that'll do it for Wheel of Movies here this evening. Richie, you got anything you want to throw out there? Anything you got going on?
Nothing much. Yeah, in just a few minutes, we'll talk all the goings on. There was just a few things going on last week.
Just a few little things.
Just a few wrestling-related things. A fucking long AEW show. And, and apparently it was on by design, which is crazy, and to counter WWE. Evolution. And, got a few which is going to be a different with fandom and multiplex and I'll be on pop up on JPO's channel here and there show about trivia I'm around tournament 5 tier ranker.
Yeah, for sure. We'll return with Wheel Movies as we usually do in about 2 weeks. So that'll be the 31st, and we'll spin the wheel here either on tomorrow night's show or on Monday's show, something like that. We'll spin the wheel and see what our next movie will be. So there's plenty to choose from on that wheel. So we can do the show for a very, very long time. We'll see what next we draw. You can mostly find me on the Movie Hero Network and on the Lonely Marks Wrestling Podcast. So switch over to that. I'll have a link to that in the Movie Hero Network Facebook group. So you can find us over there if you want to chat some wrestling with us. I'll be on Mega Movie Z, that's Wolfman's channel, this weekend for our monthly mistake. We switched it up a little bit, just slightly, to coincide with I Know What You Did Last Summer, the reboot, legacy sequel coming out. We'll be doing the straight to video I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer.
I own the DVD to that.
Yeah, which is very poorly rated. I've never seen that one. I've seen the first two. I have not seen this one. I've heard nothing but horrible things. So I will be watching that. I bought the bundle on Fandango at home. So I was going to rewatch the original one anyways, just before this one. Now we'll be doing a drinking game to that third one. So I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer will be our monthly mistake this week, and we'll save Shark Night 3D for next month to coincide with the Jaws re-release. So that's what we're going to do. I'll be on Rank 'Em on Sunday night over on Take 3 Productions. We're talking horror movies that should be remade or get another remake or whatever, something to that degree. So ones that we wouldn't mind seeing and getting an update. So that should be a fun topic. Malcolm usually hits me up for those horror topics. And then Sunday night we'll also be doing the Movie Hero version of our top 12 movies of the year so far. So it'll be so Richie already knows my list. If you saw the countdown on JPO's channel, you already know mine. But I'll run it down again. But Jordan Anderson will be on there. there. I think Dan Skip, Alan Wolfman, and Jonathan Caro, I believe, will be a part of that. So we'll get some other
It's
people.
gonna be a long show.
It might be a long show. I better strap in. So I might need a countdown on the screen or something to keep those guys in check. We'll see. We'll run that down. So yeah, well, we'll wrap it up there for the Wheel of Movies here tonight. So join us on the Lonely Marks here in just a little bit. We'll talk some wrestling. Thank you, Richie, for joining me as always. So for Richie Goodacre, I am Austin Pez Howell, and we'll see you next time here on the Wheel of Movies. Bye.